I didn't think about it in terms of, gee, I'm an African American, ergo there follows some major mission in life because I'm black. But I recognized that as an African American, I had to seek out opportunities in areas where African Americans had not yet gone. And cable was one of those. I mean, there were a couple of African American guys who'd worked in the cable in the association before me, Don Anderson being one, and another gentleman by the name of Sam Shepard, I think. But I felt that here was sort of virgin territory for somebody who was African American to sort of pursue a career opportunity in a way that no one else has done. And so it was an opportunity sort of laying out there for me the way I looked at it. And I felt what I had to do was to sort of be very effective, get to know the people in the room in a way that if I impressed them, I would have other opportunities to do business with them or to form relationships with them. So that was my thinking at the time. And then as the technology issue began to come to the surface, satellite cable, the marriage of satellite and cable, then it sort of hit me, aha, here's a chance to create something in the form of a content-based business. But it was more, gee, I'm in cable, I don't see a whole lot of blacks in cable, here's a chance for me to sort of be first in my sort of, first in the position to benefit from that.
In this episode of Business Executive Profiles, we will profile the business achievements of Robert Johnson, an American media executive, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and real estate investor. Best known as the founder of Black Entertainment Television, BET would make Robert Johnson the first African American billionaire. Robert Louis Johnson was born on April 8, 1946, in Hickory, Mississippi, the ninth of 10 children to Edna and Archie Johnson. His parents moved the family to Freeport, Illinois, when he was a child. He excelled in the classroom and was an honor student in high school. Johnson graduated from the University of Illinois in 1968 with a bachelor's degree in social studies. While at the University of Illinois, Johnson became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. In 1969, Johnson married Sheila Johnson. He received a master's degree in public affairs from Princeton University in 1972. After graduating from Princeton, Johnson started his professional career by taking a job in Washington, D.C. This job introduced him to the television industry. He served as the public affairs director for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. In this position, he learned the power of television. He also worked as the director of communications for the Washington, D.C. office of the National Urban League. While working as a press secretary for Congressman Walter Fauntroy, Johnson had a chance meeting that would lead him to become a lobbyist for the National Cable and Television Association, or NCTA. While at the NCTA, he built relationships with executives that worked in the cable industry. A key relationship Bob Johnson formed was with the cable executive John Malone. His relationship with John Malone would be pivotal in the formation of Black Entertainment Television. John Malone encouraged Bob Johnson to call him if he ever had a disruptive business idea. Inspired by print media titan John Johnson, Bob Johnson set out to create a cable channel targeting African Americans. At the time, it was already targeted programming for African Americans in print and radio. John Johnson, the founder of Ebony, utilized his magazine to document the rise of the African American middle class. Bob Johnson realized that he could leverage satellite technology to target African Americans with a niche cable channel. In 1979, Johnson left the National Cable and Television Association to create Black Entertainment Television. BET would become the first cable television network aimed at African Americans. Johnson acquired a loan for $15,000 and requested a meeting with John Malone. Bob Johnson pitched his idea for BET to John Malone. Seeing the potential to tap into the African American market through cable programming, John Malone wrote a check on the spot for $500,000. Malone purchased 20% of BET for $120,000 and provided a loan for $380,000. John Malone would later say that he gave 80% ownership to Bob Johnson because he knew that Johnson would work harder for himself if he was the majority owner.
Well, John Malone is a strong believer in entrepreneurs. Okay. He fundamentally likes the idea of people who have vision or people who have ideas and can passionately articulate the idea. He likes to back them. So I was able to convince him because, first of all, he had a small need for the product. I mean, it wasn't totally necessary, but he had cable systems that wanted the product. Okay. The second was he believed in entrepreneurs. He's not the kind of investor who believes in government programs. So. Okay. Yeah, if you'd gone to him and say, I want to get a government loan, an SBA loan, he probably would have thrown you out of his office. But if you go to him and say, I believe this product can work, I believe there's a demand for black content, I believe cable operators want to see more black programming, and I think I can find the content, he bought into the notion. So he put the first $500,000 into BET, and the rest, as they say, is history.
In 1980, Johnson launched Black Entertainment Television. Cheryl Miller designed the logo that would represent the network, which featured a star to symbolize black star power. When the network launched on January 25th, 1980, it only aired for 2 hours on the Madison Square Garden Sports Network, which later would become the USA Network. The network's lineup was composed of music videos and reruns of popular black sitcoms. In 1983, BET became an independent channel, and in 1985, BET became profitable. BET launched a news program, BET News, in 1988 with Ed Gordon as its anchor. Gordon later hosted other programs such as Conversations with Ed Gordon. Other popular shows included Video Soul with Donnie Simpson, Video LP with Sherry Carter, and Rap City. In 1991, the network went public and was listed on the New York Stock Exchange. In 1998, Johnson and Liberty Media bought all shares outstanding for the company. This purchase gave Johnson 42% of the company. After AOL purchased Time Warner in the year of 2000 for $182 billion, Bob Johnson and John Malone realized that the market valuation for media companies was at its peak. Bob Johnson met with Sumner Redstone to discuss a deal for Viacom to purchase BET. Viacom acquired BET in 2001 for a reported $3 billion.
I realized that here was an opportunity to make sure that BET was placed in a strong brand-oriented company like Viacom, and one that had a sensitivity to BET's independence. And so we struck a deal that sold BET to Viacom.
John Malone's original $500,000 investment netted him approximately $760 million. Bob Johnson earned over $1 billion from the sale, making him the first Black American billionaire. After the sale, Robert Johnson stayed on as BET CEO until 2006. Johnson retired from the network, turning over his title of president and CEO to former BET Vice President Deborah Lee. Johnson founded the RLJ companies, specializing in hotel real estate investment, private equity, financial services, asset management, automobile dealerships, sports and entertainment, and gaming.
When I think about BET, the thing that I'm most proud of is BET created more African American multimillionaires than any company had ever done. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was something that made me proud. And today, BET is still going strong and it'll be around forever.
Yes.
So that's a legacy that you can point to. But more importantly to me, it proved that you can take African American talent, put them together, provide vision, leadership, and focus and content and capital. You can create significant value for yourself, your family, and send a strong message that, given an opportunity, African Americans can achieve for the benefit of this country and for themselves as well as anybody else.
Thank you for watching this episode of Business Executive Profiles. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support this channel, please donate. Links to the Cash App and PayPal are in the description. Please stay tuned for future videos where we will profile more leaders in the business world.